Hello, everybody, and welcome to AWS On Air. We are here at the SF Summit. Welcome back, and my name is Kyle Lee. I am the Senior Developer Advocate on the AWS Amplify team. I am joined here by my co-host, Steve.
Hiya, Steve Roberts, Developer Advocate for .NET and PowerShell.
All right.
What are we talking about today?
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
Yes.
We have a guest on. What are we talking about today?
Great to be with you guys.
And want to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. My name is Scott Rigney. I'm a product manager here with the Amazon Athena team.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So I'm going to guess then we're talking about the federated data source connectors.
You would be right.
Ha! Woohoo!
All right.
All
So
right.
what exactly is this federated data connectors? Can you explain that to me? Because I am a mobile developer and I don't really understand what that means at all.
But you've worked with data, so you're familiar with some of
have.
the challenges of data sort of being all over the place.
I have.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's start with what is Athena, then let's kind of work our
Yep.
way into what the launch today is all about.
Absolutely.
So Athena is a serverless SQL engine for your data lake. So a lot of our customers are using Athena to run queries, SQL queries on data that they're storing on S3. Support a number of open formats like Parquet and JSON, and you pay per query. So it's a really nice serverless product that allows developers like yourself to leverage Athena to get insights from the data that you have in your S3 data lakes. Going further, Athena has a collection of data connectors, primarily up to this point focused on AWS service sources like Redshift and DynamoDB. And what those allow you to do is sort of expand access to data. So if you're a developer, you've got data stored in S3, but you're storing some additionally in DynamoDB, you can bring it together in Athena, produce a consistent view of a customer, do some analysis on it, generate files that can be fed into processes downstream for reporting, and all sort of other sort of data orchestration use cases.
Got it. So just to make sure that I'm understanding correctly, so you have data that may be coming or may be stored in a lot of different locations, and then what Athena does is it helps pull that data together so that it can all be used in the same, essentially the same process.
Yeah, and to go a little bit further, one API really, so it's SQL, ANSI SQL. So if you think about how do you access data in Dynamo or Redshift, like two different patterns for querying the data, Athena surfaces a simple ANSI SQL interface, so you can run SQL on these disparate sources.
Well, one of the key things, if I remember correctly about Athena, though, is that there is no data movement, right? The data stays where it is.
That's right. Yeah, so data is kept at rest, so this enables you as a developer or an analyst working with your data to sort of just think about what are the insights you're trying to get out of your data and not really plan for building ETL pipelines to extract, copy, duplicate, massage, all of that sort of heavy lifting that's required up front to just make data ready and available for analysis. So,
All right. So, talk to us about federated connectors.
absolutely. So today we're launching 10 new data connectors for Athena. It's a pretty large expansion for the Athena kind of connector story. Primarily, today's launch is focusing on third-party or external data sources. So we're adding connectors for popular stores like Snowflake, Google BigQuery, Azure Synapse, and Oracle SQL Server, and Teradata, to name a few.
Oh, name dropping. Okay, I hear you.
There you go.
Okay, got it. Like it. Okay, so tell us a little bit about like what is it that customers are typically experiencing, and like how is this going to essentially help them?
Absolutely. So it all goes back to how do you get value out of the data that you already have? And that's really what today's launch is really focused on. We recognize that a lot of folks are storing data in S3, but they have sources elsewhere.
Got
And so
it.
we're all about providing, again, that simple, easy-to-use experience to access your data and derive insights, derive value, sort of leverage the data for more use cases. And so today's release really expands what is possible with Athena by adding new data connectors. So this is really unlocking additional use cases.
Got it, got it. So instead of being limited to maybe just a handful of things, now we're branching out to so many more services, and I'm guessing that we're just kind of getting started with the amount of things that Athena is allowing us to do. But like a lot of great stuff is happening right now.
Yeah. So, how do customers typically work with Athena? You mentioned APIs, etc. How would they get started?
Yeah, so we're kind of everywhere. So we have a console, which we'll demo. We've got an API. You can use SDK if you want to develop more programmatic experience. We also have JDBC and ODBC drivers, so you can plug Athena into your preferred BI tool or analytics apps or SQL editors sitting on your desktop. So however you want to access your data, we're sort of there.
All right.
Awesome. Well, you said that we have a demo.
He did say
So
demo.
I love demos, and I have to see.
Let's
I
do
have
it.
to see it. So let's take a look at your screen. Where are we at right now? So I see Amazon Athena listed at the top, but what are we actually looking at here?
So this is sort of the primary interface for Athena, right? This is a
Okay.
SQL editor. If you're familiar with desktop SQL editors, this is sort of the standard layout, right?
Yeah.
SQL on the top, results on the bottom, data off to the left.
Got it.
And so that's how the console is set up. And what we're launching today are the expanded data connectors, which I mentioned. So what I can go ahead and demo is how do you get to those new sources? We've got this left panel off to the left. Click on that and go to data sources. Oh, just quickly reload that. It's curse of the live demo.
Well, that's
Well,
just typically how it goes,
tell
right?
you what, I had a
Steve?
backup ready, so let's keep it
he
rolling.
came prepared. It's
Secu-
almost like he knows what he's doing.
Security, one over
Yeah.
convenience.
So cool, we hop into our data sources tab, and you can
okay.
see a full listing of all the sources that we support.
So these are the ones that we announced today.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So what we also did is we sort of refreshed this console, understanding that we've got more sources now, so adding a couple tools that allow you to find the source that you need to access. So a drop-down box and also a search field, so you can
Okay.
quickly get to what you're trying to query. So here we're setting up a SQL Server connector, and so what we do is we basically provide some of the kind of key inputs on, how do we want to name that connector, and that's important because we're going to leverage that connector name in our future queries. And then what we do is sort of configure a Lambda connector. So the Athena connectors work on Lambda, so it's a fully serverless architecture. And what you do is you go in and you'll configure your Lambda connector with the properties and configuration, strings and all the other sort of details for the underlying data source. And all of that sort of happens in the Lambda. So skipped past that in this recorded demo just to avoid boring you guys. But once the connector is launched or configured, you'll see them here in your kind of data sources screen. You see here I've configured a few. We've got DynamoDB, HBase, Redis, and SQL Server, which is one of the new ones that we're launching today.
That's got my interest
Running.
as a .NET developer.
So there we go. So we flip back to the SQL editor, and what we'll do is run a few sample queries on that data just to get a sense for what is in those databases, and then we'll
Okay.
kind of dive into some of the additional use cases. So here we're querying our SQL Server database, we're querying the sales orders table, and you can see at the bottom we've got a good listing of the available data. You get a sense for what's in there. Sort of as you're sort of planning how you're going to do your analysis, you sort of do some exploratory queries. And the interface allows you to do that. And here we're checking out another table, and you can see the data is coming back in real time, and
Yeah.
so in pretty low latency. So what's really powerful is all the orchestration that Athena is managing behind the scenes to talk to Lambda, connect to the source, pass the SQL down to the source, run it on the source, consume the results, and bring it all the way back to you as a viewer here in the console. So a lot of
Got
orchestration
it.
happening.
Wow.
Okay, so this is very common though, right? Like we're able to run a query, get back some data, but like, is there anything more that we can like actually visualize against some of this data?
Yeah, let's go a little bit further. So those are some toy queries, right? Simple select stars. Let's take a look at this query. This is where the power of Athena really comes in.
Okay.
So you're doing analysis, and you understand I have data in Dynamo, SQL
Yeah.
Server, HBase, all over the place. From one SQL query, you can query and join all that data together. And so what we're showing here is a little bit more complex query where we're joining multiple sources together. And this one runs pretty quickly, so we'll give this one a shot here. But yeah, this is really the kind of the key power of Athena is, again, it's got this simple interface. You're tapping into all these sources, and you don't really have to manage, much. Data movement, as you mentioned, is
Right.
really key to the overall experience.
Right, so one console, one query, multiple data sources, connected via the connectors, all coming into one place
There you go.
without moving the data.
Right.
Hey, it's pretty cool.
And then for folks who want to do more with the data, what we'll show here is flipping over to QuickSight. So same idea, maybe a little bit different persona, someone who wants to do more visual exploration of the data versus writing SQL queries. What we're showing here is we've sort of modeled the same data set in QuickSight using the same SQL that we showed in the previous kind of demo, joining HBase and Dynamo and SQL Server. You can see here we've got that loaded in. It's called the fetch active order info data set, and what we're going to see here is the SQL. So this is the same SQL as we showed previously in the Athena console.
Got it.
And so what's really powerful is we can start from here, load our data into Spice after querying all of those underlying sources, and then start to build data visualizations on top of the data.
Got it. So one of the things that just naturally comes to my mind is like we're connecting multiple data sources, right? So like, is there like some type of delay that happens when we're trying to query some of this, or like how does this work? Because if I'm pulling from over here and over here and over there, like how does that like end up looking like when I'm actually running a query?
Yeah, so when you're running the query, it, I mean, you're sort of just sitting there waiting for the query to come back, right? So any latency you see is really just Athena sort of orchestrating the query, passing down the query to the underlying sources. And what's really interesting about the query that we just showed is it joined multiple sources, and there are different where clauses and different sort of filters present in the query.
Yeah.
Athena will sort of pick the query apart and take the individual stubs that apply to DynamoDB, SQL Server, etc., and pass those down through the Lambda function that's configured for that underlying source. And Athena will sort of manage those connections, as they're working with the underlying sources and orchestrate bringing the data back and coordinating the joins.
Oh wow.
So
Okay.
really, this is sort of query planning, and Athena just thinking through how should I plan the query. Then it sort of sends the query out to the Lambda functions in this case, and then brings it back to our local compute to join the data together if there is a complex join. So what's really interesting is how does this work when you're joining S3 as well? Because
Yeah.
we'll do the same model, and again, we're going directly to S3, querying the files, processing them on our fleet, and joining the results back together once the Lambda functions return. So latency that you see would be dealing with, how fast the underlying source is, and making sure that it's configured to sort of accommodate the level of queries that you're expected to run on that source.
And does it shoot that query out like simultaneously? Like, is it synchronous or is it asynchronous, or how does that all
So
happen?
it could really do both, right? So Athena scales to multiple concurrent queries. So as a user, you could run within your account and region multiple queries. Think about it as individual tabs in the experience that I showed earlier. Each of those can contain a single query that's executing against the source, running in parallel. And each of the individual queries are, again, running against the underlying sources.
Cool. Okay.
Wow.
It sounds pretty cool.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around the idea of these queries going out to different connectors, data coming back, and then the joins happening. And it's like, oh,
All just to give you like all the information that you're interested in, as opposed to having to run these queries manually and then build it together. Like Athena
Yeah.
does that for you.
yeah,
So-
that's a big time saver. I mean, my SQL stops at select star from table, but
Yeah,
I
mine
can
too.
see your use for this. Cool. So what? Are there any new use cases that these connectors are going to help customers solve that we never know?
Absolutely. So again, building on the existing capabilities of the product, like expanding access to more data sets, more data sources, really just the more data you can connect to, the more that's achievable. Some of the use cases that are really interesting to me and that I'm hearing from customers are, if you want to train a machine learning model, for example, and leverage inputs from a diverse set of, inputs to reduce bias in your algorithms, you need diverse, broad data sets to do that. So what's really interesting is you can think about Athena as part of training data sets for machine learning model training. Run a big query like the one we showed, joining data from disparate sources, pulling it together, sort of dropping off your training inputs to SageMaker to go run a machine learning model from. And think about the new sources that we're launching, right? So you may have marketing data stored in BigQuery. You may have customer ERP data stored in SAP HANA. So what would it look like to join all that together and have richer inputs to your machine learning
I'm
models?
also
It's really
thinking around things like, I've got my archived data from way back. I've got my current data, but now I can query against the whole thing and get that bigger picture. Right? I'm not losing fidelity just by searching a narrow subset of data that is what I'm tracking day to day.
That's right. And also on-prem. So
Yeah,
take
and
a scenario
on-prem
where you
too,
have
yeah.
some legacy sources running on-prem.
Yeah.
With Athena, you can configure VPC to query that source. So what we hear customers doing is sort of building a bridge as they're migrating to the AWS cloud. And they've got some databases still stuck around on-prem, and they need to have analytics on their data to understand their business. And so they can use federated query for Athena to sort of provide that visibility as they're migrating to the cloud.
Got it. So one of the things that I'm thinking about, because this is still like a realm a little bit removed from what I'm used to dealing with. But one of the things that comes to mind is, okay, 10 new connectors were just added today. So before that, how are customers getting this like how is the team getting this information on what connectors are like most important to be added, and like how can customers reach out to the team to also let them know like what is also needed that may not be currently supported?
Absolutely. So we love hearing from customers, and this project was born out of customer requests for additional data connectors, as the federated query project was when it was launched in 2019. So this is all based on customers wanting to do more with Athena and leverage their data in new ways, and that's what we're here to do. So if you have suggestions on new connectors, send them to athena-feedback@amazon.com, and we're happy to put them on our list.
Okay.
Awesome.
Athena-feedback@amazon.com.
Yeah, there should be a link in the description that
Should
will
be.
allow you to get over there, and then let us know, are you currently using Athena? And if you are, which connectors are you using? And if there's any other information that the team should know, or if there's anything that you want, any other connectors that you think should be included, make sure that you reach out to the team so that they can actually hear what your use case is and what connectors are most important to you.
All right, so we've got a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that you want to explicitly call out at this point? Like, what should people do to get started at this point?
Yeah, so the software is rolling out today, so it should be available in all regions by end of the day.
Okay.
And for folks who want to go really hardcore and go deeper, I'll leave you with the last kind of call to action, and that's all the connectors we're releasing today are open source. So you can check out our
Oh,
GitHub page and
okay.
dig into the source code, see how they work, modify them.
Wow.
You can also use our SDK to build new connectors. So
Oh, so they can build their own connectors too.
yep.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. See, that's the benefit of having something like this open source, is that if it doesn't exist, you fork it and then you just build it yourself.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Scott. Is there anything else that we missed here?
No, it's been great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah,
thanks
so
for
thank
joining
you
us.
so much, Scott, for coming and joining us here on AWS On Air. Hope that you get to actually go out there and enjoy the rest of the city of San Francisco, because there are a lot of amazing booths, but there are also a lot of amazing views. So thank you again for joining us. And we know that Athena is not done. We know that we can expect you back, right?
I'll be back.
All right, sounds
Tell
good.
me where and when.
So we look forward to it. So thank
Awesome.
you again.
Thank you.
All right. Be back soon.